It's not football season anymore, but we are still back here on set. Ian Sachs, Jersey Joe Archino, and Kevin Walsh. The NFL Draft Combine, February 26th through the 29th. And guys, we need to break down some of the biggest players that need to have some big days at the Combine. And you know what? Why not start it off with the quarterback position? Everybody knows that that's the most important. Joe, who are the top guys that you're looking at the Combine?
Well, I want to start this out by kind of saying I don't think any of these quarterbacks are really ready to come in and make an impact right away. We've kind of gotten spoiled in the NFL today because we have the Lucks of the world, the Mariotas of the world, who just come in and make an instant impact. None of these guys are really going to make a right away impact, but in time, they might develop into something. And you've always got to go with Goff, Wentz, and Lynch. Those are the three linchpins who are really categorizing this quarterback class. California, North Dakota State, and then Memphis. Not your traditional big-name schools, but that doesn't always matter in the NFL. What it comes down to is their physical abilities, their mental capabilities, and I think that's something that all of these scouts in the NFL are really surprised about and really like about these guys. They all put up big numbers. They all are very athletic. If I had to say who the best one is right now on a lot of people's boards, it's probably got to be Goff. He had a very good career at California, put up crazy numbers. Didn't always come away with the wins because the talent was not always there to help him out. But on my board, and I know on a lot of NFL GM boards, he's the number one quarterback that they have.
Now, Kevin, switching over to you. Joe took the top three quarterbacks that are on most people's big boards. But I want to look at you and see what are some quarterbacks that you think would be stepping up and really emerging themselves at the Combine.
Well, yeah, obviously, quarterback is such an important position that you never are only looking at three guys. I mean, there's about 10 different guys that can all be drafted within the first 5 rounds. It's just that important of a position. There are two guys that really stand out. Cardale Jones, he's already won a national championship, came back this year, though, and had a starting job taken from him, but he's got the big arm. There's a lot of athleticism there, and he's a very confident guy. I think that he can really impress in his interviews. The other guy, though, who we are hearing great things about is Dak Prescott. Had a wonderful Senior Bowl, had a really great senior season. 29 throwing touchdowns to only 5 interceptions, adding 10 touchdowns on the ground. He's probably the most athletically gifted quarterback at the Combine, and if he puts that on display, he could rocket up these draft boards.
Now, of course, we could spend all day talking about quarterbacks, but there are other positions in football, believe it or not. What are some of the other position players that you guys are really looking to have a big Combine?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is going to be such a special draft for defensive players. We kind of look at the last 3 Super Bowls, and 2 of them have really been won on the defensive side of the football. This is going to be a draft where there's instant playmakers everywhere. The one guy I'm looking at more than anyone is Reggie Ragland. He was really the linchpin for this Alabama defense this season. We know how good these defenses usually are for Nick Saban, and he's a guy SEC Defensive Player of the Year, 97 total tackles on the year. So many losses he was responsible for. Just the way he reads and reacts to the game. This is a guy who really, a lot of GMs really like the way that he's committed to service. He stayed at Alabama instead of opting for the draft last year because he didn't like the way things finished. He wanted to get that ring. He wanted to continue his service to the community. This is a tremendous athlete, and if you're a team like the New York Giants who might be in position to take him, your whole outlook could change just by bringing in a guy like this to reestablish the energy on your middle linebacking core.
I think you make a wonderful point there. When you look at Ragland, the leadership test is just off the charts, and if he does have a good Combine, he's going to be a top 10 pick almost guaranteed. But an offensive guy who could put up insane numbers is Braxton Miller. One, you think about the versatility. I mean, he can take snaps realistically if he ever needed to, but he did really well at receiver for Ohio State, and he can even do sweeps, very Percy Harvin-esque, and he's such an athlete. Joe, we were speaking about this yesterday. Urban Meyer saying he is one of the 2 best athletes he's ever had, along with Percy Harvin. So if Braxton Miller puts that all on display, he could see himself entering into the first round, but such a versatile guy that this Combine is the most important thing for him.
Now, we talk a lot about the physical ability of these players and what they're going to put on display at the Combine, but there's also a whole nother aspect to the Combine, the interview process, more of the mental getting down to what the players look like. Who needs to have a big mental portion of the Combine in addition to the physical production?
Well, for me, one of my favorite players in this draft is Robert Nkemdiche from Ole Miss. This is just one of the best athletes I've seen coming into the NFL draft in a long, long time. But there are a lot of red flags. He was arrested for marijuana possession, and there were some troubling things that NFL scouts are kind of worried about with his mental side of the game. The measurables are off the charts. This is a guy who's got 296 pounds. It's all good weight. He's a monster. He's got versatility. Everyone knows what he can do on the football field, but trust is the word that matters at this stage. And NFL GMs are not going to take the risk on you, which we've already heard a lot of come out and say on the record, I'm not touching this guy until I'm totally sure that I can put the word trust in his favor. He's got to nail the interview process because he's got all the talent in the world. He's got first-round potential all over him, but no one's going to touch him unless they can trust him.
And Joe, I have another guy who falls into that same exact category, Noah Spence. Big recruit coming out of high school, went to Ohio State, gets suspended to play in that conference due to twice failing drug tests. Obviously just couldn't handle things at Ohio State, but it seems that he has changed. Went to Eastern Kentucky, wins that conference Defensive Player of the Year, had a phenomenal Senior Bowl. And now people are looking at this kid as someone who could be the best pure defensive player in this draft class. And if he nails these interviews, Noah Spence has a chance to go top 5. However, if people don't trust him, Noah Spence could really fall out, even be a round 2 selection.
Well, certainly a lot to develop here at the Combine coming up over the next couple of days. We'll have a post-Combine mock draft. So for everyone here on North Avenue Nation, I'm Ian Sachs signing off with Kevin Walsh and Jersey Joe Archino. We'll catch you guys next time.